Okay guys, so what we're going to do here today is change the spark plugs in this 2015 Toyota Highlander. So we'll get it going here. First thing we're going to do is take off the wipers and the cowl, and we'll show you how that goes, and we'll get into it. Go ahead and take off these wipers here. We're going to pull these little plugs off. They come off by hand. We'll take these bolts off here. We'll push down on the wiper here and here. That'll help it come off. And then we're going to undo all these little clips right here. We'll pull this cowl up and out. So we'll show you got 2 pins on each side also, and we'll do that right now. Okay, so now we are going to remove this top part like I was telling you here, and we'll get the wipers out of the way. This 10mm bolts across here, so we'll go ahead and take those off, and then we'll take off the throttle body and get the upper plenum off and go from there. And we're going to get the wiper assembly out of here first. So you can see on this vehicle here, we also have a plug into the glass for heated glass, I believe that is. And so we're going to go ahead and remove that and then set this plug off to the side. Okay, got a little screwdriver here to hopefully help get underneath here to unplug this. If not, we're going to use a pick. Let's see if this will do what we need it to do. All right, I'm going to use a pick and try not to poke myself and draw blood today. All right, that was a tight one, but we got it. So we are going to kind of lay this up to the side. I think I'll get a piece of tape and tape it down just so it stays out of our way. Conveniently have painter's tape. Let's see if that'll stick to all that dirt. All right, looks like we're on to something here. All right, we'll finish taking this out. So obviously here we want to be very careful when we take this out to not eat our windshield. So you can see this bottom mount here actually just slides under. So we got it out. We'll unplug the motor, hopefully. Let's see if we can give it a little assistance. Trying to be careful with these plugs because they are dry. There we go. All right, so let's make sure we clear everything, and we'll gently take that out and set it off to the side. All right, and then we will gently try to get these wire clamps out. These might be a little bit of a challenge. Let's grab our hook here too. All right, we're back again here trying to get this unhooked. All right, we got one side. Let's see if we can get the other. There we go. One down and probably 19 more to go. See if we can gently pull this off. Oh, there we go. All right, and then we can just squeeze that one. There we go. So that one came out pretty easy. See if we can do the same with this one. All right, and then this one's going to be a little bit of a challenge just because the tabs are behind here. So let's see if we can lift without poking ourselves with the pick. Would be nice. Let's try this with the screwdriver and see if it's any easier. Get a little more leverage on it. It's just an odd angle, so there we go. Got the top one out and then just bent it down a little bit. All right, so I think that's everything wire-wise connected. So we're going to keep going here. Set our pick to the side before we scratch ourselves up. All right, and we'll be right back and show you that. Okay, guys, so we're going to take out, there's 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's a 7th one over here I missed showing you guys. And then to take this out, we got to take these 2 strut bolts out too, and then this nut here, and then we should be able to lift this whole thing out. There's 2 bolts there, and then 2 bolts here as well. So we're going to take those out, and then take the strut bolts out. We'll put the strut bolts back on there just so it holds everything down until we retorque them when we put everything back together here. So, and I'm just starting all of these loose with the ratchet and then hoping to get them out by hand. All right, just making sure that these are all the same size. So far they are. All right, we're almost there, and then we will get our strut bearing nuts off. All right, and one more nut on this side. All right, and we'll check here to see what size. I believe it's a 14. Let's see. It is a 14 for those. All right, so go ahead and get these guys off of here. And 2 more on this side. All right, if my calculations are correct, this should come out. I was getting word there for a second. It was a little tight. Car has 100,000 miles on it, probably just because it hasn't been off before. Alrighty, and we're going to be super careful to try not to dump everything. And there we go. Now we're going to dump it in the grass, though. All right, guys, we're going to vacuum out a little bit of this stuff, and we'll come back just so we don't spill any of this down into the intake manifold or anything. So we'll be right back with you. Okay, guys, so now I'm going to take off the air box and all of this here just to give us some better room. We'll unplug the mass airflow sensor. Let's get the, well, we can take the, hopefully, disconnect that. Let's see if we can get some of these guys off of here. Guess that comes out of there instead of off of the hose. And I always recommend taking some pictures just to make sure that you know where everything goes back. So I already did that. So hopefully we don't run into any unexpected fun. All right, so I am going to actually disconnect this hose, I think, from right here. We'll undo that and put it out of the way. All right, we're going to take this off for now. And I do need to get this out of here. Let's see if we can get our fingers back there to get the clip off. I got one side and then the other, and then it goes back in. There we go. So hopefully that was everything. We did get a new air filter. All right, we're going to pull the screws out of here and take the air box out. Get a couple more extensions just to make life easy, hopefully. So I do have these locking extensions. I know there's probably too many on here and I should have just got the longer ones, but these do make life a lot easier when you're not dropping sockets and extensions off. So if you don't have a pair of these, I suggest getting them. They're just cheapy Harbor Freight ones, but they seem to be halfway decent. So all right, got the lower half out. Okay, and then we do have to take this front cover off to get this one out. So we'll go ahead and do that real quick. Get our pick here again to hopefully pick these guys out of here. And preferably not break them. These are the original ones, oddly enough. All right, side panels hooked in, and I don't necessarily want to take those out just yet if I don't need to, so we're going to disconnect it from there. That should be this. All right, there we go. All right, and 210s to get this out of place. I'll try to kind of route this up here so I'll remember hopefully where it goes. And we did get new gaskets for all of this. Okay, so be mindful of this bracket here, goes on the bottom when we're putting it back together. And these are 10 millimeters for the throttle body. Not a surprise there. All right, we are loose. So like I said, I'm just going to kind of sit that down here. Okay guys, so there's a couple bracket bolts. One here, and then if you come over to this side, it's difficult to see, so I'm going to show you guys. I got a ratchet on there. You can see in the back up to that bolt. So I am going to attempt to remove that and it's going to be a bad camera angle, so I'm going to do that really quick. Hopefully you can see from the front, and we'll get that one out of there. I already cracked it loose, so hopefully it doesn't get the best of me on camera. So very interesting angle, and it's behind a harness, so this harness here, which will lift up out of the way just enough to sneak a socket in there. I had some wobble attachments and some other things, hoping to, you know, get around there if I needed to. So here's the bolt. That was a 12. And then the other side, I believe, is a 12 also. So let's see if we can get that off. And then we're going to disconnect the vacuum hose and for the brake booster, and also so it feels like that one's going okay. So let's see if we can get it by hand. We can. All right, so this hose here we're going to disconnect, and then we'll disconnect this one here, sit it down to the side. I think just to keep this out of our way, I'm just going to disconnect this from the booster. There we go. And then we're going to take the PCV hose off too. I'll just take it off of there and then get it out of our way. All right. So I'm actually going to put this on here for now, because when I take things apart, I just want to make sure I got it back in the right spot. And I'm going to grab our pick here, and we're going to attempt to unplug the variable intake valve without breaking it, hopefully. There we go. All right, and that should be everything that's holding us. So now we will get our 10 millimeter again and our ratchet. And we're going to start on the outside with these nuts here. And then we'll go to the inside, and then we'll retighten in the opposite sequence. And we do have some towels to lay down over the lower plenum ports, so we hopefully don't get any junk in there. And we did vacuum as best as we could around there as well. So those are 10 millimeter nuts, and this is a 5 millimeter hex. Okay. All righty, so far so good. Let's see if we can let's see if we're on the right track here. I think we are. So there's our 5 millimeter hex for the center. All right, and to quote another famous YouTuber, tell me who it is, we got this open. Take this out of here and gently lift off our intake. All right, guys, we're gonna pull these old gaskets off. We got 3 new ones of those. All right, and I'm gonna wipe away, get any last remaining junk away from these intake runners. Alrighty, we're gonna lay these over here and hopefully not get anything down in there. All right, guys, so you can see here now, this is where that 12 millimeter goes through on the bracket, and then this is the other side. So we're moving right along. Now it's just going to be replacing the plugs and getting it back together. And so far, we haven't had to crack open anything with water, so that's awesome. I really don't feel like bleeding the coolant system. So we're going to come back here, and not sure exactly how I want to do this. I might see if we can pull off this harness and get a little bit of room on there, but the bolts are pretty easy to get for the coils here, and there. Oh, and this bracket's going to need to come off completely for the last coil. So I guess I did it wrong, and I shouldn't have taken that out. So you know what I'm going to do is I'll put this back on the intake manifold right now, and then I should have taken this bolt out down here. So learn from my mistake. I don't know, maybe it's easier to get to that one. Probably not, because I did it. So we'll go ahead and take that off right now with the 12 and remount that to the intake manifold. So live and learn, right? So hopefully you guys don't hold that against me. There we go, that one's tight. That one actually should be much easier to put back on. We'll see. I'm going to eat those words, I'm sure. So there's that bracket. And before I forget, make sure that bolt is the same. It is. We're going to go screw it back onto the intake plenum here. And that's where it goes right there. I'm going to leave that ever so slightly loose. So, all right, guys. So now that I got that bracket off, I'm going to start working on trying to gently unplug these. There again, with the goal of trying not to break anything. Yeah, wise guy. They don't want to cooperate. Which, why would they? Let's take a look on the front and make sure how these work. So if I pinch it really hard, okay, so it's just a tight fit. So you can kind of see what I did there. So let's see, maybe we encourage them a little bit where the plug goes and see if that will, or the tab. If not, I need to try to sneak my pick down in there. See if we squeeze with that, try to get a little movement. All right, there's one. Just an awkward angle, but a little difficult to squeeze those from up here. Take that out of there. Hey, look at that. We should have done that a while ago. Squeeze and encourage. That could be one of those motivational cat posters. All right, there's two off. So let's see on the third here if we can just do this the old-fashioned way. That's no fun though. Let's see if I can. Come on. We're going to try the pick. Pick the pick. All right, guys, so we took that last plug out. I turned the camera off for a second because it was getting the best of me to lift that tab up. Didn't break it, got it out. So now we're moving on to, we're going to do the first plug here. So I don't know, is this 3 or 6? I'm not sure. So 10 millimeter to secure the coil. So we got that out. We'll give it a little twist and come out with it. Move the harness out of the way. See if anybody's been here before. Is this new? Nope. Toyota. Who makes this? Don't know. I can't see it that well. What does that say, cameraman? All right, DE Diamond, whatever that is. So we're going to get some dielectric grease to put back on there. These spark plugs should be a 5/8. That's what the new one is. So you would hope that's what the old one is, right? Got a new fancy fandangled wobbly socket. The sad story behind that is we had Advanced Auto here, or Advance Auto here for those of you who are in different parts of the country. We were really excited to get them here, and unfortunately they're going out of business. So pretty sad about that. We were excited to start, shopping there and seeing what they had for us. So all right. All right, let's see if we can do this by hand now. This is where, again, those locking extensions really come in handy. So, all right, let's see what we got behind door number 1. All right, we have an original Denso, and that is plug number 1. Our socket insert came out here, so I'm going to put that back in there. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and replace these. So here is our new plug. And that is, part number. So let's see what we got here. There's an old and there is a new. So we're going to hand thread those in there. Being mindful not to drop it in there or bang it around. So let's see if we can. Looks like we're well on our way. All right, let me get the plug torque and we will torque that down and let you know where we're at. Okay guys, so we looked up the torque. It is 18 foot-pounds. So we're gonna go ahead and push this out of the way. Put it back on. I can get my torque wrench in here. All right, we're cinching up. Let's see here. There we go. Okay guys, we're going to put a little dielectric grease here in the spark plug tubes. So your mileage may vary on that. I usually like to use that just to keep any water or moisture or anything out of there. So we are going to drop this one back in here. Of course, I put the wiring harness back on it, and it's kind of in the way. So let's see if just take it off again. Do the same thing over and over. Hey, look at that. All right, and we need to turn it. So let's pull it back out a little bit and turn it there. See if we can. And we're getting it back down in there. All right, guys, so we got this one back in. I started the nut on there. We're just going to snug it up and plug our coil back in. Heard the click, and we're going to move on to the next one. Let's see if we can just use this to crack this loose. Yep, not a problem there. And while I'm in here, let's see if we can get this one loose. There we go. Sit these to the side. We'll get our spark plug socket ready here. Let's pull these coils out, give them a little twist. There we go, there's one. See if we can sneak it by this harness here. There we go. So we'll put that one right there. And we'll go ahead and start on that one. Might have to take this bracket off to torque this one, we'll see. Make sure that we're on there good. All right, and like I said before, these are at 18 pound-feet of torque, so not super difficult to get out. This is a cold engine. All right, here comes the big reveal. Maybe. All right, our spark plug socket has failed us. So we're gonna switch to the magnet. Hold on a second. Okay guys, we had to get the spark plug socket out of there, so I just did that off camera to not bore you guys. So going back in with the next new plug here. We got a new spark plug socket, by the way, also. That one is help you go into rage mode very quickly. All right, we're going to see if we can sneak the torque wrench in there. Again, 18 pound-feet, foot-pounds, whatever you want to call it. All right, you guys heard it there. Pull these extensions out. All right. Okay, there is spark plug 1 and 2. Very similar wear there, so we'll line these up so you guys can see them, and then we'll show you when we get them all done. All right, so now we're going to put a little more dielectric grease in this one here. Just a squeeze. Okay, and we're going to drop it back in here. And we'll get the bolt back in there. We'll snug up the securing bolt. Alrighty, and we'll get our plug back on there. There we go. And we already got the number 3 securing bolt for the coil in there removed. So we're going to go ahead and just gently pull that one out of there. All right, we're going to rinse and repeat here. our different 5/8 spark plug socket. All right, make sure it's seated down on there. All right, there's our third one. We'll line it up next to the other two. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and drop this guy back in there, same way it came out, being careful not to bang the electrodes around. Start it by hand. We'll get our torque wrench on there. All right, you guys heard the click there. Let's get the torque wrench off of here, hopefully first. Well, that's being difficult, so let's, because I don't want to put a ton of torque on it while it's on the spark plug. I'm going to just pry this out with the screwdriver. There we go. Okay, so we had to get the piece of the spark plug socket out of there. So not a fan of the rubber insert spark plug sockets. So not sure what you guys use, but I'm going to probably look into getting a magnetic one myself, because that was not fun. All right, so we got a little dielectric grease on there. Get this drop back in there. Get the securing bolt in our 10mm. All right, let's make sure it's lined up where it's supposed to be. All right, just give it a little snug. Make sure the next one over here is snug. All right, we'll plug that last one back in. Got a click there. Put this back where it goes. Put this back where it goes. All right, so we got all three coils plugged in. This is for our variable intake. And we should be good on the rest of that there. So that is the back. What a fun and exciting time that is. So now we'll do the front really quick and show you that process. Hopefully we'll be pretty much done here. Okay guys, we're going to work on the front now. So we unplugged these three here, and then I cracked these bolts loose. So we're going to take the securing bolts out for the three front plugs. So hopefully this should go a little quicker. So we've got one, we've got two, and we've got three. So since our spark plug sockets really let us down, we're going to take the rubber insert out. We'll crack these all loose, and then we will get them out with the magnet. Go a little deeper on there. I just don't like the angle I had with that, so. That one's a little squeaky. All right, there's that one there. So we'll go ahead and swap it out. Now on this one, I'm going to drop it in with the magnet because I do not want to bang up the electrode or the ground strap. I'm going to need something to hold it down in there with to get the magnet off. There we go. All right, we're squeaking in there again, so I think we're all right. These on this side are obviously a little more straightforward. You can see down in there. There we are. Get our dielectric grease here. A little bit of that. This guy back in there. Steering bolt here. Plug that coil back in. Get the right size wrench. Okay guys, we got the second one here. We're going to try to get it out. And there we go. That one is about the same as the rest. All right, now we're going to drop this one back in there. Our magnet. This is quite the juggling act with sockets messing up on us. So buy a magnetic spark plug socket for these long tubes, not the one with the rubber. All right, we're going to get to 18 pound-feet. And that is there. Okay, coil number 2. Our dielectric grease in there. Get back in there, a little twist. Get our retaining bolt. Snug that up. Plug it back in until we get a click. And moving on to the last one. Always fun sounds there. All right, get our magnet here. And there is the third and final. And we'll go ahead and drop our last plug in here. Not literally, hopefully. And we'll get one last torque to 18. There we go. Some dielectric grease. Get that drop down in there. And our retaining bolts. I know I've seen where people, and I didn't want to do it just because I wanted to take my time and I don't know, feel like doing it right, but where you can just take these 3 screws out or bolts, pull all 3, get a click there, pull all 3 coils out without unplugging them and just sit them up top, and then you can do it that way. So I didn't do it that way. I don't know why, but I didn't. All right, and then now we are just going to start reassembly. So this should be fun. Okay, guys, we have 3 of our new intake manifold gaskets here. So we're going to go ahead and put those in. Those just tuck right in there. Here's our throttle body gasket. We'll put that one on too. And these should sit in there nice and neat. And you can see that there's a little protrusion there. Here's our third one. All right, so we got all those. We're going to go ahead and do our throttle body as well while we're here. Out with the old. Clean this off, make sure we're in good shape there. And here's our new one. That's the part number. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and sit this back on. Let's get our towels out of the way. Do one last clean on there just to make sure that we're nice and flat and you get a nice seal on there. Alrighty. So this pipe did go through there, just so you guys are aware of that. And make sure that we All right, I'm going to start these by hand, making sure all my gaskets are still in the right spot there and that none of them fell. And then the same thing, I'm just going to double check in the back, make sure that we can see all of our gaskets, if we can. Okay guys, so I started these bolts back here on the brackets by hand. They're still loose, you can hear. It was very difficult to get back there and took some contorting, so I saved you guys a long time worth of frustration. So we are about to torque down the bolts for the intake manifold. So we're going to put the the nuts and the screws in there. So these get torqued to 13. Okay, so we're going to start the nuts on there too. And we got one last our 5mm hex to go in. Okay, so the 5mm hex, like I was saying, they get torqued to 13. So let's get our torque wrench, which is set to 13. And we're going to go in a crisscross pattern here. There we go. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4 there. Okay, guys, so these nuts here get torqued to 12 and not 13. So I don't know with this size torque wrench if it's going to really differentiate a lot different between 12 and 13. All right, so now I am going to attempt to tighten up all these 12mm that support the intake manifold. So I wanted to get those tight first. And now we'll work on these. So that's the easy one. And now we move on to the fun. We won't say hard, but we'll say fun. So I think this one here will be easy. All right, and then I'm hoping, I can't see anything, so you guys gotta bear with me. All right, so we'll plug back in our variable intake manifold control. I know I pulled this wire harness off of back here, so there it is. Let's get it back on. We're plugged in there. Okay, we got our PCV hose hooked back up. So now what I think I'm going to do is we're going to put our throttle body back on. We got our new gasket there. We will wipe around it here. This actually looks like it was cleaned recently, so I'm just going to wipe it out a little bit. And we will get the torque free on that and get that back in there. Okay, guys, and then don't forget we have this bracket here that we're going to need to make sure it's hooked on. So let's start this top one here. So these torque on these are 7 pound-feet, foot-pounds, however, potato, fig newtons, not fig newtons, it's foot-pounds. So we got our nice new gasket on there. You can see the top portion sticking up here. Find that one in a second. All right, we're back with that one. The third hands, found that second set, third hand, once removed. All right, so those are 10mm. So we're going to slowly square this down by hand. All right, 7 pound-feet. I could probably do that completely by hand. So let's see if where we're at here. So we were at 12. We go 11, 10, 9, 8, and 7. Hopefully this is accurate at lower scale. So we were at 12. I'm going to go 11, 10, 9, 8, and 7. Hopefully this is accurate at a lower scale. I think we just clicked there. Let's see. We just click there. Just click there. It is very click. All right, I'll just double check. Click. Click. Okay, you guys heard it. Keep an eye on me. Click. Click. They want to move ever so slightly. Click. And click. All right. So we are moving right along. We are going to put the air box back in. Before I forget that though, I do want to hook any vacuum lines that I can back up. So we have our brake booster here. So let's tuck that in and we'll get that there. Okay, so I know that goes there. So I'm going to put that there just temporarily. Got some wires here. All right, we are going to okay, guys. Obviously, we put some stuff back together here. Installation is the reverse of the removal here. Put our new air filter in, air box back in, screwed it down, 2 screws there. I put the intake piping back on with tightening up that screw there. We did hook back up the brake booster. We sat this back in and started all the screws by hand. Hooked vacuum lines back up, made sure. So really cool. You can see this dot here. That's where it goes there. You can see here there's a blue line. That's the top where it goes. It's kind of neat. These hoses here on this have this little piece of stuff that is where it goes. So it helps you line everything up as with down there. We put the bolts back in here, tighten that down. So we are going to torque all these 12s down. I need to look up the torque for the nuts that we removed for the strut tower bolts, and I will let you guys know what that is. But we're just going to start cinching everything down. And kind of like the intake manifold, I'm going to start from the center and work my way out. Okay guys, so I tried to look up the torque for these strut bolts, and I got anywhere between 50 and then 65 to 70. So I just torqued them to 65. So I did try on this bolt here that I did not take off, and at 65 it barely moved. So both of them, and it clicked right off with turning like a fraction of a turn. So tightening these other ones to 65 I think is sufficient, and we're just going to make sure everything else here is tightened up and ready to go. And then we will put our wipers back in. And I neglected to show you guys the removal process for this, so we'll show you the reinstall process. And I'll shoot another little piece to explain the removal that we'll splice in here. All right, so not so much for my socket that I'm supposed to be holding that. I don't think I had it on there right. Okay, we're on there right now. Oh, maybe not. Oh, you know what it did? That's interesting. So that bolt's too long and I needed a deep set socket. So when it went in there, it pushed back my locking extension. So there you go, live and learn. We are tight though. That's what matters. So all the 10s are tight there. And you know, we double checked everything that we did here. When we put everything back together, all of our gaskets stayed in place, front and back. Same thing with the auto body gasket, torqued that to, I believe it was 7. These outsides were 12 on the torque, and then the insides were 13. So we're all there. We tightened that first, and then we cinched down the 2 support brackets on the back and kind of looked everything over. So we're gonna put the wipers back in and then get this back together and take it for a road test. Okay guys, so we got the wiper assembly here. So let's see, this goes in like so, and remember we have this bottom plug that slides into, there's a little groove back here on the back, and that slides into there. A little hard to see, but we'll show you right here, hopefully. Careful not to hit your windshield. I think we need to go under first. Okay, and then we're gonna pivot, slide into our spot there, and we are lined up here. So we have our 2 long 10s that go in for that. All right, I had our wires clipped in the wrong spot there, so we are going to clip this one back in there, clip this one back in there, plug our wiper motor back in, get our screws going here. All right, let's grab our 10 millimeter, and hopefully this time it won't be on eject for the extension. All right, just making sure that we're lined up where we want to be. Do one last little tighten on there. Okay, and then I didn't show you this, or maybe I did earlier, but we taped this to the glass with some painter's tape. This is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it heats the glass. I don't know, there's 3 wires, so maybe 1 ground and 2 heaters. I believe it heats the glass where the wipers sit, so when you are in the wintertime, your wipers don't freeze to your glass. I don't know, where I live, we don't freeze or have snow or any of that fun stuff. We just have hot weather. So you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on that. All right, so we're back in all of our clips there. Everything's plugged back in. So I think now we can put our cowl piece back on. Let me grab that. All right, so on this, and get all the leaves and junk out of there the best that I can. We did buy a new cabin filter as well, so when we're done with this, we'll replace that. This car lives outside, so we just want to try to get as much of this stuff off of here that we can. Sure, a brush or something would be a lot easier, but why would we do easy? Feathers and all kinds of good stuff. All right, so on this one here, be mindful that there is a lip here that tucks up under the windshield. So we're going to be really careful as we go back in, I'm going to kind of come around our hood prop and start away from the glass and get this to a point where we are kind of on an angle, and I can see from where I'm at that I am not anywhere where I need to be. So I think I'm going to pivot it up. There we go. Now we're coming under there. A little bit of a maneuvering act and just kind of looking across the top here to make sure everything's in place. And we are over both of our wipers. So we're going to just make sure that we're pushed up. And you guys can kind of see along here where all of these little clips just kind of pop back in here. So, and then to get those out, it was just a matter of either pushing them from the bottom or taking a little screwdriver on the top and pushing them in. So I think that's us. So we'll see there. Yep. And then we had two little pop rivet clips that we took out of there. You see our wiring harness. There's a protrusion for it there. So here is our little factory pop rivets that went into here. There's one. This one's not doing so well. See, it's got 3 legs. We'll see how it works. Isn't that a pirate? All right, we might need to replace that one. It's a little dry. So on these, they're pretty cool. You just push the center down a little bit, and when you push it, it comes out. Or this one, you could get it from the bottom. Either way. So I think I just pushed them up from the bottom because they go right through. We then have these little plastic retainers for this firewall insulation. So just going to screw those back on there by hand. Do not use tools on there. Do not over tighten them by hand. They will break. Ask me how I know. It seems to be that we found the one that's broken right there. All right, guys. So I got that one back in there. So I just put a little bit of plastic behind there to make it screw on it, just to retain that little firewall piece that goes up there. So nothing crucial. We're going to put the wipers back on. That should be our last bit other than the engine cover. So we're going to get the wipers here. All right, so I believe this is the driver's one. And fortunately, our car is dirty, so we can see exactly what it was. So cool trick that I saw from another famous YouTuber, you guys would know, is when you want to take these off, you just push down here and it will help to loosen them up to come off the splines. So, all right, let's see if we're where we're supposed to be here. So what I like to do when I put the wipers back on is get them lined up, which we did, and start the retaining nut. Get it pretty well cinched down, then I kind of just come up with it to make sure that we're sitting on the splines right. I don't want to tighten this down and mess up the spline, so I'm just kind of rocking it back and forth and making sure we're good to go. I think that we're good there. And then we'll do the same thing for this one, making sure that we're clearing everything. And if I remember right, that is a 14. So let's see if how our memory serves us here. Okay, there's one. come up just again, just to make sure. I think I might do this one. Now I can get it. All right, let's see. I think we are good. So another cool thing I learned on another video is there is marks on the factory windshield that this one's not factory. I do notice there's 2 dots there. So I almost am wondering if those are for lining up the wipers. If you see there, that one pretty much lines up there. And then this one, when we sit it down, lines up exactly with the other one. Don't know if that's the case on this car. Hoping it is. They look like they're in the right spot to me. We'll try them out here in a second. And really, the last thing that we have to do is put our caps back on. So these are the same for both sides. I'll lift this up so you guys can see it. Oh, and then we still will have to put our front cover back on too. So there is 1 and 2, and these can just come off by hand when you want to take them off. That's how I took them off. You might need a screwdriver, but sometimes they come off by hand. So wipers back on, motors plugged in. We plugged in the heated glass or whatever that is. That you guys are going to let me know if I have it wrong. Here is our front shroud, or whatever you want to call this cover. So we know it goes under on that side, it goes under on this side. Oh, sorry, stick the front in first. Valuable piece of information left out of your tutorial there. Alrighty, so kind of looking to make sure we don't have any extra parts, which so far so good. So we're going to sit some of this in here out of our way and look for all of our little plastic clips. Eureka. These are all factory too, so we're hoping that we don't break any. There was a couple missing. I want to make sure I get the pertinent ones in first. This holds 2 pieces, so I want to just make sure I get it in there. These can be fun to get back in, especially if they've opened up. So there's 1. We'll get 2. And I'm just pulling these back out a little bit. 3. I want to get this one for sure, so let's do it next. Maybe. All right, you can hang out and wait. Oh, white guy. There we go. Sometimes if you spin them, kind of helps thread them in there per se. When you get the one end in and then you rotate it, it'll help bring the other ones that I've found. I don't know if that works for you, but I've broken my fair share of these. So we have 1 left. So I have 3 spots and 1 left. Let's see which spot. I'm thinking this one is. All right. So there we go. And we are going to start it up here. So let's see. Fingers crossed. Did we get everything back together? Are we going to have check engine lights? Nothing like putting the car back together and having issues. Here we go. Wow, very smooth. And it's welcoming us back. So door open, 66 outside. We're going to go for a little road test, and we'll let you know how it goes. Okay, guys, I don't know how loud or not this is, but we had a little bit of vibration in the engine before. We did look at those plugs again that we showed you, and just to show you one of the ones that we found that were kind of interesting. If you look at the top electrode on these, in this one, the gap looks really large there, especially in comparison to some of these others. Like these 2 both looked to me like they had a pretty substantial gap, that the electrode on the top of the ground wire was pretty burned off. So, you know, especially comparing them with the new ones. So 96,000 miles on the vehicle, basically 100. It was definitely time. I don't know that I would push them that far again, but like I said up here, we're smooth. And we'll do another video on brakes here pretty soon. Thank you guys for watching. We're going to put the engine cover back on. Okay guys, so here, and here is where it goes on in these 3 spots. So let's see, usually if we get the front ones lined up, we'll be good to go on the back one. So and there we are. Okay guys, we just got back from taking this for a ride. Got the spark plugs all changed out. We didn't have any major issues with it running before. It was idling pretty rough. So now super smooth idle, really runs well. And we got the intake manifold gaskets from the dealership. Those were $10 a piece, roughly come out to about $30. And I believe the throttle body gasket was about $8. So got all those replaced, and then the plugs from the dealer itself. Got pretty frustrated with that rubber insert spark plug socket. And so we ordered a new Koken made in Japan. It's got leaf spring retention for spark plugs, and we're going to debut that in another video here really soon, doing some more spark plugs. So overall, good job, and pretty straightforward, easy to do. So if you've been putting that off, don't. It's pretty straightforward, and if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.